Today I'm joined by my friend Dimko Zhluktenko. He is, as you can see, well, maybe you can't see, he will explain in a minute. He's out of doors. He is serving in the armed forces of Ukraine. Dimka is one of the leading technologists as well, along with his wife Irina and their incredible outfit, Jiggers Por. He's one of the, I would say, the leading innovators of drone warfare in terms of software and hardware techniques, integrating them with the front, etc. I'm going to ask him to describe that in more detail. Before we do get into that, thank you to everyone who supports the channel through Patreon and Buy Me Coffee, but especially everybody who supports Jiggers Poor. We're going to put links in the description of the video, and I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to give what you can, support this charity, which is one of, if not the most effective in Ukraine in helping to push back Russians. It's also one that has developed extraordinary transparency in terms of its donations and systems. It's wonderful, put it that way. Please do follow the work, do help in any way you can. Dimka, welcome back.
Thank you, Jonathan, for such a bright intro, and I'm very delighted to be here with you today. And thanks for the invitation. Thanks for all of the viewers who actually will enjoy this little piece of content on my rest and relaxed day that I'll be at least a part of it I'll spend with you, and I'm just happy to talk to you all.
It's absolutely fabulous. And the last time we met was in Lviv in a rather spectacular Georgian restaurant. Um, but that's not where you spend most of your time. You are spending most of your time now in the armed forces, not necessarily sort of quite so comfortable and certainly not necessarily so safe. Could you give a bit of a description of a sort of day in the life of what do you actually do, and what is the unit you are a key part of?
I'm a part of one of the battalions of unmanned systems forces. My job is to pilot a big fixed wing reconnaissance UAV. Basically, we fly it deep into Russian occupied territory, up to Kurakhove, Selidovo, and those kind of areas, and look for anything interesting, air defenses, radio locators, anything like that, artillery, anything that is too precious for Russians, then get the coordinates, confirm that it is still there, it's functional, it's not a decoy, and then pass it on to the strike groups. Either that would be drone strike groups like the Switchblade, or well, maybe that is more of a loaded ammunition or something, but we also have other strike groups like darts and other types of UAVs, and obviously the reactive artillery like HIMARS, which we work quite often with during the last couple of weeks at least. Day-to-day life is that there is a van behind me that we have fundraised for. We pack into that van all of the equipment that we have, all of the big boxes, and get our weapons into that. Then we drive to the area of executing our mission. Usually that is 10, 15 kilometers away from the front line, which is relatively safe, but on our direction, I would say it's not safe at all, because for Russians, that is exactly the kill zone, and they're specifically looking for us, the operators of those UAVs. So we basically get to that place, look for some kind of a shelter, underground bunker or something the day before, when we are doing the reconnaissance of the area on foot. Then we get into that bunker, or normally we could also work from a tree line right from that van, and we start our work. Usually it's a 3-4 hour flight each time. We normally do up to like 7 flights in 24 hours. And yeah, it's intense, and it's usually more safe than the infantry, much more safe, but at the same time still vulnerable to guided bombs, to FPV drones, even to artillery sometimes. So That is more or less it.
Mm.
Normally, we go there for like 3 or 4 days. Um, like we stay in the positions and live in that underground bunker. I yesterday night just came back, so that is actually the reason why I wasn't able to join you yesterday night because we came back too late and too tired. But now I'm happy because I had a warm shower and had plenty of sleep, so I'm happy now.
And a good meal, I'll guess as well. This all
Yep.
helps to, yes, dust off that experience of being in the field. And for people who think, well, I'm taking 10, 15 kilometers behind the lines, that doesn't sound particularly dangerous. We should remind people that actually the fly-by-wire or fiber optic drones now typically, I believe, are around 25 to 45 kilometers in terms of the length at which they can operate. But some have
Yeah.
been clocked at 100 kilometers, I believe. So actually, there's
Mhm.
very little territory along the front that can be deemed safe. You could have extraordinary bad luck and fall prey to a sort of hunting group of fly-by-wire drones. Is that the case?
Yes, absolutely. Almost any field that we um, use for our landing procedures, they are filled with optic fiber, meaning that tons of Russian optic fiber drones have been flying in the area looking for targets. So it's the danger is real. I would just describe it as well, in other directions, the distance of 15 kilometers, like in Kherson, it wouldn't be as dangerous as it is here. So here we are looking at enormous group of Russian forces, and they are best of the best. They are best specialists in here that are working on taking down our UAVs as well. So I would say specifically the Donetsk region is quite dangerous.
That's it. I mean, one area where my first and only time visiting the area was to Slavyansk, and certainly about sort of 20, 30 kilometers north of Slavyansk, just as you come down past Izum into Slavyansk. That certainly didn't feel particularly safe there, and I'm guessing there are a lot of places on the front where it is difficult to transit between towns, between villages.
Yes, actually, some of our logistics roads have been targeted. I mean, the roads that we use to get to the positions, because we are not only ones who are using them to get to the positions to fly UAVs. So Russians are very and very actively looking for vents like ours to spot exactly those UAV operators. So it's quite dangerous, and they often do those traps where FPV drone just sits nearby the road and waits for an interesting car to drive by. And once it sees it, it engages in chase and hits that. That's one of the reasons why in our van we actually used the ballistic protection. So inside the van, if FPV drone hits that and we are inside, we have much better chances of survival against the shrapnel because we have that ballistic protection near on the edges of the van.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, Now, of course, many people still have the impression that Russian attacks are primitive and simplistic, that they are dominated by meat wave assaults, etc. And that, of course, does form part of their operations. It's one of the reasons why they're finding it so hard to recruit and having to pay so much money, which is perhaps a good thing because it's starting to attrit and damage the Russian economy significantly. But you're describing a situation here where there are Russian forces that actually have supplies of decent equipment and they seem to know how to use them. So, how do we explain this? Are there pockets of excellence within the Russian army? And should we be taking some of those sort of units and their skills much more seriously?
Absolutely. I think there are just different types of units. There are units where they have technologically very advanced people who are able to create very innovative things for the warfare, and it makes great impact. But at the same time, like yesterday, I was sitting at a position and I was looking at a live stream of other unit. They were filming how Russians, 20 of them, were just advancing through the field about 5 kilometers away from the front line. 20 of them, and all of them by the end of that field were destroyed by FPV drones and artillery. And this is the tactics that they are using. There is literally no mechanized assaults in our direction, and all of the gains that they are getting is solely from those small groups. Let's say you have 100 guys doing the assault in a day, and out of them, 80 will be killed just by trying to get to that little village. They are trying to have actual fighting in with Ukrainian forces. So I would say this is troublesome. Uh, I completely understand that they do not regard human life as anything precious, but at the same time, it's working. It's working, and we are seeing this by the gains that they have in our direction, specifically in villages like Zaporizhia, Yalta, not those big cities, but little villages in Donetsk direction. Um, it's troublesome.
Do you and your colleagues, from what you can tell, is this a huge concern? I mean, obviously it's unpleasant. Obviously the fighting is extraordinarily intense. But in order to take, let's say, to reach Kiev, Russia would need tens and tens of millions of soldiers. So are these techniques troublesome, but on a larger scale, do you worry about them sort of, breaking through and taking substantial territory? Or is there really no chance that this sort of scale of attack is ever going to substantially alter the lines of contact?
I don't believe that is going anyhow strategically change the situation that Ukraine is in. At the same time, we are grinding them down at enormous rate. But still, there are just less of us remaining in here. So I think there is a chance when the amount of Ukrainian defenders will be so small in terms of the infantry that um, it wouldn't be even possible to hold on to those villages. So just to put it very plain, the situation in those villages is such that you have a half destroyed village. Let's say you have 50 houses in there, and some of those houses are used by Ukrainian military to do the fighting in there because there are no like shelters or anything except that. And just yesterday night, we were looking at the um, footage of our brothers in arms. They were doing the night bomber operation. Basically, in one house, there are Ukrainian forces. In another house, there are Russian forces, like the right next house. And it's very hard to coordinate, but still, they managed. They destroyed the house with the Russian guys. So all of them were killed in there, buried under rubble. But just imagine that this is one less house in that village that you could use for defending that village. And step by step, house by house, will be destroying the any potential fortifications or shelters that we might use for our infantry, meaning that no matter what, but we are gonna be slowly retreating to the next village, to the next village, to the next village. If Russians keep on coming at such enormous high rate with enormous kill ratio.
And
But that's not
technologically,
gonna
yeah.
change.
Yeah.
That's not gonna change anything strategically, I guess. So I wouldn't say that there is a chance for them to do a mechanized breakthrough or anything. In Donetsk direction, we haven't seen mechanized breakthroughs. I think for like 3 months straight.
That's
No, like
extraordinary. Yeah.
BMP or tank comes closer than 10 kilometers to the front line.
That's extraordinary. That
Only cars and motorcycles and on foot.
golf carts? Have you seen any golf carts as well, or
Yeah,
donkeys?
yeah,
Yeah.
buggies, golf carts, motorcycles. You know that motorcycles, like from the World War II, where you have like a body sitting right next to you or something. So we've seen that as well. I mean, crazy. It's crazy in here.
And in my own experience there, and I won't say where it is, but somewhere in the Pokrovsk direction, I was able to visit one of those bunkers, but quite a large sort of command bunker for let's say the aerial forces. Um,
Hmm.
And it was extraordinary. It seemed that there was complete transparency of the battlefield. At any one time, many, many dozens of monitoring drones like the ones you're talking about, giving a full view. And in this
Hmm.
instance, in the sort of 3 or 4 hours where we were able to look at the monitors and see what was unfolding, you could actually see a BMP advance into territory. The fields were pockmarked like the First World War with multiple, shells. But the
Hmm.
field was also quite green, and you could see this BMP churning the soil up, seeing the black soil underneath the tank
Yeah.
tracks. It advanced about 2 kilometers
Hmm.
across what I guess is no man's land, and then inevitably it was hit. And it's the classic one where you see the sort of people falling off the top, running in different directions, and then it starts reversing. It gets about a sort of mile back, and it's destroyed, and all the people who were on it were destroyed as well. It seemed so utterly and strategically pointless. It seems difficult to understand how those kind of techniques can actually deliver any kind of success. Do you have any insight into what's going on there? Is this sheer incompetence? Is it sheer waste and brutality? Or is there some logic behind these tactics? I mean, in the 4 hours we were looking at this unfold, I couldn't see any real point to it, but am I missing the point?
Well, the situation you described is quite cinematic, I guess. And the way I would explain it is that Russians have so many resources that they're just, how do you say it in English, trying the water or something? Putting their toes in the water,
Testing the
trying the
water, putting the
ground.
toes in the water. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they are just checking if this direction maybe it has some significant issues with the infantry, with the command. Maybe it works out, and in their case, they do not really put any high price for the infantry guys who were onto that BMP. They are not putting any price onto the vehicle itself, and just ordinary procedure for them. But as I said, on our direction, we so rarely see them that we even forget how they look. So it's almost never, never only the artillery, motorcycles, cars, and on foot, and that's it. And we have seen the advancements towards Zaporizhia village, and it was done solely by like 200 or something of motorcyclists. Very quick road. About they started about 10 kilometers away from the village in one group. That was interesting to see.
That's again, it sounds quite sort of cinematic, a little bit like Mad Max or something, a bit science fiction in
Absolutely.
some ways. Yeah. Um,
And deadly
do
because
they?
most of them were killed. Like,
Of course,
uh,
yeah. There's no armor, there's no protection on those, is there?
yeah, yeah.
Do they have a point though? Because the point of the front, which we saw, had an extraordinary concentration of monitoring drones. At the strike units that you talked about were incredibly reactive. They were coming in, and a stray dog couldn't have moved across that entire sector without it being identified and something happening in result.
Mhm.
My
Yeah.
assumption here, though, is that it's difficult to maintain that level of intensity. It's difficult to keep that many drones in the sky and have that kind of response rate and actually have units that are that skilled and prepared and equipped across the entire front. Is this an issue, sort of extending that level of skill across the 1,000-kilometer front line?
I don't think that it's a big issue from what we are seeing, at least in the unmanned systems forces. No lack of equipment, no lack of skilled personnel. It's just the grind that we have to do. I mean, Russians will keep assaulting us. Our job is to keep them away from our infantry. Don't really see any issue in for us, the drone operators, to continue the same level of intensity of combat. But this is vastly different for the infantry. For them, it is day by day is getting harder to be at those positions. You can imagine they are sitting there for weeks in those half-destroyed houses. There is no way for them to make any rotation, evacuation, or something. I think it's much harder on their side, unless there is rain, something, so they can make any movements. Because in rain, both Ukrainian reconnaissance drones and Russian reconnaissance drones, they do not fly that much. So there is a chance. I
And of
think
course,
it
yeah.
will all boil down to the infantry.
And we're entering the summer, so of course the dry days are going to increase. We've got a few months where
Hmm.
clearly it's going to be more difficult. Let's turn to the technological innovation and, of course, where this technology is sourced. Because I remember last year talking to you, talking to Alex Ferguson and others, that one of the big issues was that a lot of components were sourced from China, and that Russia was actually innovating with its sort of fly-by-wire or fiber optic drone technology. Ukraine seems to have bounced back with responses to that and with its own technological innovations. But what's the situation now in terms of innovation and innovation cycles? And also sourcing components that don't have dependencies on China, which must be something of a systemic risk given they are nominally an ally of Russia's.
Hmm. Regarding the innovation, I guess nothing really changed in Ukraine. The innovation cycle is still enormously short. Extremely short. And there are different types of accelerators, startup incubators, something that are specifically targeting the military technology. So if you have any great ideas, you just pitch the idea, get some funding, start building the prototype, and start testing with the military. If there is a way to build something that works and actually makes an impact on the battlefield, in Ukraine, I think this is literally the Silicon Valley of defense tech at the moment. And that is solely or largely because we have a lot of testing field in real combat conditions that are quite complicated, heavily electronic warfare saturated, no GPS or something. So at least in that aspect, it is very interesting to observe the development in technologies. Regarding the components from China, actually, I'm yet to see anyone here on the battlefield who gives a damn. I am literally at the moment talking to you from Starlink, and it is connected to Chinese Airflow, both of which I despise. I mean, the Elon Musk and the Chinese, but at the same time, we use that to fight a war that is deciding on our survival as a nation. So I think I am fine with that. But I understand that there is a systematic and strategic risk for Ukraine that in one day will stop receiving the packages from China with all of the VTXs and TXs and RXs that we need for building the drones. That is a significant risk. But actually, I am yet to see a person here who actually cares about this. And all of the those R&D labs, they are more focused on, well, first make it cheap and make it work. That is it.
It's interesting, isn't it? And one wonders whether China will carry on allowing these components through a sort of grey route, even if officially they decide to say they're going to block it for whatever reason. Um, I'm also fascinated, having sort of visited your team in Lviv and also spoken to and met sort of other teams who are in the sort of unmanned systems forces and started to see some interesting. I mean, you talked about impact and the cycle of technological innovation, but of course, one of the reasons this is accelerated is because you're starting to get more visibility on what actually works. And innovation is all very well, but if it's innovation that's blind of the impact or results that's achieved, then it's an inefficient process. Um, you've brought incredible transparency to your charity. It seems that there's a certain amount of transparency now in terms of, the equipment. How much of the equipment is serviceable once it reaches the front, what happens to it, where it's used, what its sort of kill ratios are. There seems to be an extraordinary data gathering and analysis. So, could you describe what's going on there and how that then feeds into the sort of innovation loop and even production cycles to make sure there is no less, say, component failure in transit,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff?
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. Well, in our case, in those unmanned systems forces, we are really heavily relying on gathering the data and submitting the data higher up. And each and every flight that we do, we have to submit some data, specifically what type of drone we use, and then what kind of result that we bring with that flight. That would be highlight for or correction for HIMARS for destroying the artillery piece. That could be just making 100 of ticks on the digital map that we use for other units to see with high quality pictures of targets to be hit sooner or later. So these are the KPIs that we're working for. And our new commander, Magyar, he is fairly data centric from what I have understood. So I like this approach a lot. Regarding the FPV drones, they are always in each flight, they are submitting what kind of drone did they use, what kind of explosive do they use, what is their target, and what is their initiation device that they are using on the drone. And also they submit the result, whether that the target was hit or it was destroyed or it was not detonated or it missed or the AI last mile kind of a thing didn't work or anything like that. So all of that data is flowing higher up to give the commanders a better understanding of what tools actually work and what tools do not. So, or what might need slight corrections, because sometimes it's not even in the tools, it might be in the people that need additional training. But all in all, there is a very data-centric approach to the warfare, which is enormously interesting. It's like we're looking at I don't know, some data startup or something.
That's extraordinary. And whereas the Russian vertical within the army and their power vertical tends towards people exaggerating or even fabricating information for superiors and a certain fear in passing the truth up, especially if it's truth about failure, it seems that their military structure actually is not designed for the kind of transparency and innovation that we're talking about here. It's really kind of structured for lies to be propagated, and that doesn't lead to military efficiency. Is there any of that going on in Ukraine, or are these systems, are these command structures and processes really being designed based on the idea of truthful information, and more or less are they fail safe, or is it down to sort of individuals to have a certain understanding that delivering truthful information is much better for the overall result?
I think each and every army in the world would have those problems with submitting the information which is not true for their political career gains or anything. And obviously, we have that too in Ukraine's army. Not new. Uh, I think that it's something that would happen in any army in any war. And there is some substantial fog of war, which makes people think that if they submit the false information, no one's gonna notice, and most of the time, no one really notices this. Wouldn't say it's systematic, at least in tactical group that we are in, but at the same time, I know that it happens. I know that people are submitting the data that, well, that village is still under our control, while we're at the live stream able to see that maybe there is one infantry guy left there encircled or something. So there is some degree to that in Ukraine's army as well. I can agree to this.
That leads to issues clearly, and
Obviously.
I guess it's
Obviously,
people
yeah.
tackling that. Um, let's come back to drones because when we last talked, the effort to deliver effective drones, both technically effective, reliable, etc., and keep these innovation cycles going, was very much dependent on organizations like yours and their others. Was based on civic society, was based on entrepreneurs, was based on people's phenomenal sort of energy and inventiveness. Is it still the case that civic society and volunteers and donations are still driving the bulk of this, or is there more of a fusion between army, government, civil society, and innovators?
So I would say at the moment we are looking at two separate streams of innovation. There is a hybrid model implemented by Ukraine's government within the Brave One platform. Basically, that's a platform for those startups. If you have any idea that might be useful for the army, you say, I want to create some AI 3D model that gets you the picture of the battlefield. So you could literally walk through the battlefield in like some like computer game or something when you're preparing for a mission. If you have such idea, you submit that to the Brave One. They evaluate that. They help you make a good pitch deck. They help you find investors. They help you get visibility. And this is solely done within the framework of Ukraine's government, that kind of hybrid platform of Brave One, which is not 100% the government, and also being done for first the civic society, civilians basically who have some technical skills, and international investors, and obviously Ukrainian investors. And then at the same time, we have the stream of innovation going on in the army because most of the units, at least in our unmanned systems forces, they have their own R&D labs. And because of how close they are to the warfare, they 100% get the problems that we're looking at here, and their feedback cycle is enormously short. So there is still some substantial percent of innovation happening within the army, and it is fueled by those NGOs like Zigaspo and other types of NGOs that are willing to supply them with the equipment that they need to build those innovational products. I think that is how it's at the moment.
And is the government getting better at looking at what's working and then bringing scale to the equation? Because it seems that scale and mass is still something that the Russians excel at, unfortunately. And with their partners in Iran and North Korea, it seems they are still able to sort of bring scale. Now, they might not have the ecosystem of innovation you're talking about, but once they hit on something that's moderately effective, they can really sort of ramp up production of that. What's the Ukrainian approach to countering that?
Well, the issue is that Ukraine is poor as hell for the military production, and our military-industrial complex is lacking more than a half of funding to be at the full capacity. And this is really mostly about even the artillery systems and shells, and that's why we keep asking for all of that military aid per Danish model, in a way that some other countries would finance the development of systems in Ukraine. But at the moment, we have at least some spare capacity that we could that we haven't filled yet. Same goes with defense tech. There are some very prominent UAV manufacturers that have been here for decades, and they have created enormously great products for the reconnaissance, at least in my field. And they are lacking the orders, lacking the funds to build more. So that is significant issue I would describe. But as you have mentioned, on Russian side, they are very good at scaling what have worked at least a few times because of their reach as hell. And they have that kind of a central command, and they have production facilities, like literally factories that are waiting for building new Molnia type of drone that they will employ at the front lines. So I think that is a huge difference. It's very hard for Ukraine to fight a war that expensive.
And of course, we have, and I always try to mention this in videos, there's 2 to 300 billion dollars worth of Russian central bank assets that are currently sitting in Europe. Not only do they run the risk of not being able to roll them over and freeze them again, but these assets could be used to not just theoretically build the Ukrainian defense industry, but actually take these factories, as you say, that are on sort of half capacity or whatever, and actually they could utilize those production lines that are already there with products that you already know that are effective to build that out, whether it be artillery shells, drones, etc., that you've mentioned. So this is an extraordinary failure of European imagination and failure of Europe as allies to do everything within its power to help push Russia back. Now, what's the sense there on the ground? I mean, having been to Ukraine, I know that Ukrainians are extraordinarily grateful for what has been provided, but there must also be some frustration that there are so many levers which European countries, Western allies could be pulling, which they don't. There's these central bank assets, there's the grey fleet, there's the fact that Europe is still buying Russian oil and servicing Russia's LNG fleet. There are so many things that we should have done and could have done, but haven't yet done. And here we are in year 4 of a full-scale war.
Definitely, there is some frustration, but I think most of the Ukrainians are now too tired even to think about that too. We are looking at hundreds of Shahed drones flying at us every night, so most people are really turning up to the basics of their lives and not really looking that much on big picture or geopolitical picture. And we have, I think, in some ways, many Ukrainians agreed that it's only us in this, and really the survival of our nation depends on us. The other countries will chase their interests, such as, well, let's say, there is one country that sent us about 1,000 of big reconnaissance drones that are absolutely unusable in the conditions of our warfare. But they are profoundly reject the idea that it's better to finance Ukrainian drones that are specifically made for this theater of war to fight with no GPS, with heavily electronic warfare saturated environments. Instead, they still try to send us those cheap, well, it's not cheap, it's very expensive in the end. Um, those not effective reconnaissance drones that we are actually even not able to use. And the service level that we need is just not there. In Ukraine, I can mid-flight in the night, I can call the service support of my manufacturer of the drone that I use, and they would connect to my drone mid-flight to do some debugging and diagnosis on it. Obviously, none of the Western manufacturers are ready for this type of support that we need. So I
If we,
think
yeah,
generally Ukrainians just agreed that we're in this on our own. If there would be some support from the other countries, it's great. But honestly, that would be so much better if we just used what we have here in Ukraine, produced in Ukraine specifically for our battlefield, and that would be like 10 times cheaper than what we are receiving as military aid. But I obviously understand that each country chases their interests in terms of protecting their defense industry. and anyhow giving them some funds, some work to do. So
That's extraordinary, though. I mean, it's a very bureaucratic way of ticking a box, saying we've helped, but actually providing something which is completely ineffective and could have been replaced with 10 times more effective equipment. Another complaint
yeah.
that I heard when I was in Lviv is that some of these sort of Western military procured systems, they come, a little bit like iPhone. They're not designed to be unpacked, taken apart, debugged, as you say, or different components swapped out. So they do not have a sort of flexibility or agility built in. You can't sort of, if certain components start to perform less well, you can't swap them out with other components or necessarily fix them if they arrive at the front and they're not working. Are Ukrainian sort of hardware designed to be quite agile, unpackable, almost open source hardware in a way that some Western military kit is not being designed like that?
Well, I think it's should be the same for any electronics that is used in the army that is should be sealed and no idiot like myself should be looking at what is inside because most of the time in the military you have people who are not very good with technology and it has a very big potential of being broken. So I can kind of understand where they've been coming from. But what we are seeing in this warfare here in Ukraine is that you have to be so quick and agile because if you do not do it, the equipment that you have will be just sitting on the shelf collecting dust. And we have seen that in other unit that they have received hundreds of FPV drones from the government, but well, the frequencies, the equipment on those drones, they were a bit outdated and hardly usable in combat at the moment. It would be very hard to make any impact with them. So they started rebuilding them. What they've got from the government, they've started rebuilding, changing the frequencies, changing the components on those drones, and anyhow, they actually made an impact with those modified drones. So I think it's because of the level of intensity and the speed of the innovation here. That's why we have to be so agile and so quick in changing the way we fight. But normally, no army should be doing that in peacetime. And I can completely understand why the things that are being given to us, they are in such state, they are not modifiable. It's it's in Ukraine, right? You can imagine like we would be modifying our tank to the needs of the latest battlefield, adding the active protection, and adding the extra night vision, adding I don't know some cameras, adding those cope cages and things like that. But none of that is the standard issue military stuff. It's something that we do to survive, and obviously once the war is over that innovation cycle will anyhow try to pack it into a standardized unit that would be easily trackable. You can issue T uh, 420 Dimko edition or something to a military commander, and he would instantly know what is inside. What does that mean? So I think it makes sense in the Western armies, but in Ukraine we just have a different kind of ball game. So that's why we have to be so flexible and quick.
I mean, it makes sense from a bureaucratic point of view. It makes sense from a procurement point of view. And if you don't want to be constantly retraining your troops, but this is a bureaucratic concern. It doesn't address the fundamental issues of the war that you're fighting. It doesn't address the fundamental issues of the war that we may have to fight as well. It's not
Mm-hmm.
learning those lessons. How in peacetime is it possible to, let's say, engineer a situation where you can test and constantly iterate and evolve? I know that that's a difficult one because there's the very fact that your survival of not just individuals, but your entire nation is at stake. That gives an edge to all of this stuff. But surely the West is going to have to try and reproduce some of these battlefield conditions to test their equipment. And with the
Hmm.
ubiquity of things like 3D printers, which are only going to be improving, perhaps AI sort of testing within artificial environments, we're going to have to find a way to capture these innovation cycles in peacetime.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even those military exercises that are being done by the allies at the moment, they create some part of that feeling, but at the same time, they do not represent the enemy that is constantly trying to find new ways to kill you. And this is how I think this is what fuels the cycle of innovation here in Ukraine. The fact that we want to defend ourselves, and the fact that there is other guy who is actively trying to create new ways to kill you. So that's why you have to be innovative in your offense and innovative in your defense. Very hard to recreate in peacetime and all of the military exercises, but at least I guess that would be some good lessons learned from Ukraine's battlefield. Yesterday, I have seen publication saying that there was Ukraine's UAV drone group operating Laleka on military exercises in Romania with I think it was US group operating HIMARS. And the point of military exercises was that in no GPS, heavily electronic warfare saturated environment, the UAV group would fly to some location. They need to find some target, identify it, confirm it, send the coordinates to HIMARS group, send the high quality pictures to them, and then the HIMARS group should do the strike. And I think this is something that, well, on our battlefield, we do almost every day. This is exactly what my flying group is tackling with real targets, with real missions. And I think that more of the allies should be looking at joining those kind of exercises together with the Ukrainians, so they could share the experience of how it's really done on real battlefield, not in simulated environment where you do not account for a thousand things, but in real and bloody environment.
And that's extraordinary, isn't it? Because if we look back at the First World War, we had a lot of countries, observing the advances in technology and putting, many thousands of monitors and observers into the field. And that's been pretty common in many wars where you've had technological leaps. Do you get the impression that Western countries are paying attention, or once again, are they not listening to Ukrainian experience, Ukrainian voices?
I think in many ways they have already started, but it's way too slow. Like in the United States, I have a friend who is now leading a FPV group. I think he's in the Marines or something. So they are getting there, right? But it's very slow and definitely not up to the level of what the Ukrainian and Russian operators are at. So I think there is a very good type of model that we could employ here is that, like Denmark did, they help us with military aid and we train their troops. So they are ready for this new type of warfare that is going on here in Ukraine. Because once Ukraine-Russia theater of war is done, the same tactics, the same approaches would be used in others theaters of war, and we have already seen that in Africa. We have already seen that some of the FPV drones hitting targets in like Mexico or something in policing operation. And definitely, there are only two countries at the moment who are very proficient at this. It's Ukraine and Russia. So the US has a choice whether it will learn from Ukraine or it will learn from Russia, but the hard way, if they are ever to fight against that.
The last area, then, it's the last question because I know you've got not just a million things to do, but also you have to relax on your day off and
Yeah, yeah, indeed.
recharge your batteries. The last one, of course,
Yeah.
is this tricky discussion about AI and the uses of AI. And without sort of revealing any details, we had Operation Spiderweb. A lot of play was made about. The usage of AI in training those drones. That's a key part of, I would say, the operational communications that have gone out around that. But of course, you don't have AI ubiquitous yet on the battlefield, and there are certain challenges to having autonomous drones understand a complex battlefield and, of course, pick out appropriate targets. You talked about how earlier, it's extreme human skill that's able to pick out and hit one house and not the other neighboring house, which has Ukrainians in, and hit the ones with Russians in. Where do you see the battlefield going? Given that Russia probably has resources to keep going until at least the end of this year, possibly into next year. I'm one of those who think that actually a Russian economic collapse is going to come sooner rather than later. But we have to assume that there's quite a few more months still to go here. Are we going to see a big advance in sort of autonomous unmanned vehicles and
Mhm.
AI starting to have a real impact on the battlefield? And would that be to the advantage of Ukraine? Because whereas Russia might be able to access that from China, it's not a big AI player in its own right.
hmm Well, what we see at the battlefield is that AI is used mostly for the last mile. I can hardly see that it is being used at least this year for the automatic target detection and working that target. We actually every day when we do the live stream to one of our digital systems, we use the AI model to identify the objects on the live stream and automatically create map ticks for other people to see with the detailed photo, with the detailed video of that object. It's quite well, can do the basics, but can do nothing that is hidden. If Russians are really good at masking the equipment that they use, like the artillery pieces, it is impossible for any AI to identify this. This is only being done with human work at the moment, and looking at it from like 10 different angles, spending half an hour of looking at the tree line where that artillery system is. So it's rather complicated at the moment. But for FPV drones, I believe that there is big potential, but there is just enough training data, and there is so much that could go wrong in those situations when you're mid-air trying to target something, and you have so many physical limitations when doing this, meaning the radio signal, meaning the power output, meaning the battery life, and wind, and 100 different pieces that have to come together in a big puzzle kind of a thing to make that AI solution work. So I would say it's not there yet. It's definitely not there yet, and especially when it costs significant amounts, it's just better to pilot by hands because you actually have more confidence in this.
And a better ratio of success as well,
Yes,
of course.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Every time you go out with your colleagues, you're taking a tremendous risk. Irrespective of the extraordinary results that have been achieved, you're taking incredible risks with you and your colleagues. And I have to say how grateful a lot of people who watch this channel are for what you're doing for your service and your colleagues' service, the risks you're taking to defend family, to defend language, country, identity, everything. We are simply in awe of that, and many of us are appreciative of that, even if a lot of people have buried their heads in the sand and don't want to think about these difficult things. Dimko, I'm grateful that in the midst of all this, you can come on the channel and explain some of this stuff with such eloquence, passion, and skill to the audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. That was my pleasure to be here with you today and actually to share some of the knowledge that I have gained in those recent months here at the battlefield and how it changes day by day. I'm very happy that there are still people who actually support Ukraine and its fight for freedom, for democracy, for our future, and most importantly, for, as you've said, for our families, for our homes. That is great. And that
And
gives
it's
me hope.
And if people are inspired by what you've said and what you're doing, then please, you can actually help to make a tremendous difference. Check out the links to Zigger's Pour, which are in the description of this video. I don't normally beg, but please do help. They've always got campaigns running, and they have an extraordinary level of transparency, so you'll know that every pound, dollar, yen, whatever you give actually goes to make a tremendous difference and is used very, very effectively. For today, though, Dimka, дякую дуже. Слава Україні.
Героям слава. See ya.